Out here, it's not only the amazing views, but the way time stretches out a little longer and how the breeze hits just right at the summit. With All Trails, you can discover nature's best with over 450,000 trails around the world. Download the free app today.
Hey, it's Maya and Sim from the Girls That Invest podcast. If you are an IT or security pro, you know managing devices, identities, and applications can feel overwhelming and honestly risky. That's where Trellica by 1Password comes in. It helps conquer SaaS sprawl and shadow IT by discovering every app your team uses, managed or not. With pre-built app profiles, you can assess risk, manage access, and even optimize your software spend. Plus, it simplifies onboarding, offboarding, and compliance, all while cutting costs by eliminating unused licenses. Take the first step to better security for your team. Learn more at onepassword.com/special offer.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's second quarter 2025 Q&A webcast. My name is Travis Axelrod, Head of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Vaibhav Taneja, and a number of other executives. Our Q2 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time, and the update deck will be published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we are going to cover Tesla's Q2 2025 earnings call. Now, I'm going to say that I have not listened to this earnings call. Normally, what I do is I'll listen to the entire earnings call, I'll chop it up, I'll make notes. But we're going to listen to this together. One, because I think it's interesting, and two, because I want to get this out because I think it's timely. So, and also I would have 2 episodes this week that are either on time or early, which is shocking. I don't think I've done that in quite a while. So, so this episode I'm recording this at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, and it'll go out on midnight on Thursday morning. So looking forward to getting back on track. No matter how much I say it, it just never seems to happen. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with Elon's opening remarks.
We've had a very exciting quarter. We're able to successfully launch Robotaxi, so providing our first drives with no one in the driver's seat, with paying customers in Austin. And as some may have noted, we've already expanded our service area in Austin. It's bigger and longer, and it's going to get even bigger and longer. We were expecting to really greatly increase the Austin service area to well in excess of what competitors are doing, and that's hopefully in a week or so, a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks,
a couple weeks or so. And we're getting the regulatory permission to launch in the Bay Area, Nevada, Arizona, and Florida, and a number of other places. So as we get the approvals and we prove out safety, then we'll be launching autonomous ride-hailing in most of the country. And I think we'll probably have autonomous ride-hailing in probably half the population of the U.S. by the end of the year. That's at least our goal, subject to regulatory approvals. I think we'll technically be able to do it. So, assuming we get regulatory approvals, it's probably addressing half the population of the U.S. by the end of the year. But we are being very cautious. We don't want to take any chances, and so we're gonna go cautiously. But if the service areas and the number of vehicles in operation will increase at a hyper exponential rate.
All right, we're going to talk about the Robotaxi expansion in just a moment, but I want to start off with the bigger and longer comment when it comes to the service area. I personally think, and listen, I am as immature as you can get. Ask my friends, I am immature. But I think it is irresponsible for the CEO of a company to talk like this on an earnings call. People have their personal fortunes invested into Tesla. People have, or the institutions have, on behalf of other people, invested in Tesla. So this is no laughing matter. Like, and it's not a phallic measuring contest. This is like Waymo doesn't need Tesla to fail for Waymo to win, for instance. So I think that is unnecessary. And again, I have to really point out the fact that I go every 6 days, I go away to sleepover camp with my best friends and get to hang out and do fun things and activities. And we're all immature little twerps. So for me to say this, I feel like this has got to cross the line. I am not a prude in any stretch of the imagination. So that is that I just think that's inappropriate when you're talking about people's financial futures. And some people may think it's great, and that's awesome. I love that for you. But for me, I think that you should take this very seriously, because other people are really relying on you taking it seriously. Now, in terms of their expansion plans, he mentioned Bay Area, Nevada, Arizona, and some other areas. And he said that Elon thought that autonomous ride hailing, half the population would have access to it by the end of the year. Now, we're not going to talk about the fact that they would have to have, there's like 300 and some million people in the U.S. We will not discuss the fact that there would need to be enough vehicles available for 300 million people or 150 million people to take advantage of. Obviously there doesn't have to be 100, it doesn't have to be 1-to-1, but there's going to be some ratio there that even if it's 100-to-1, that's still a lot of cars that you got to have on the road. Even at 1,000-to-1, it's a lot. It's a lot of cars. So what Elon said is it's half the population. Well, there's a lot of this country that we're very spread out if you've never been here. And where I grew up, for instance, I grew up in Nikiski, Alaska, right? And in Nikiski, Alaska, I could walk to my neighbor's house, but they weren't really that close. Not like they are in where I live in Phoenix, right? So there are definitely densely populated areas that this could possibly happen. But I asked ChatGPT because, I don't know, and I don't want to take the time to do the research. And again, this is ChatGPT, but I feel like this is somewhat correct. But I asked ChatGPT, I said, where would Robotaxi have to launch to cover half the U.S. population? Keep in mind, it would have to launch in the fewest places to get the most bang for its buck. So we're looking at the most densely populated areas. And this is what I got back from ChatGPT. To cover half the population with Robotaxi service in as few launch cities as possible. And again, I'm not talking about cars covering this area. Just if they launched one Robotaxi in this area, where would you have to go? And here's the list of the top 10 metro areas that collectively account for approximately 50% of the population. So we're going to start with New York. About 20 million people in New York City, according to census in 2023. That sounds close to accurate. Again, I don't know how close these numbers are, but they're probably something close. Los Angeles, you're now looking at 13 million. Then it goes to Chicago Metro, 9.5 million. Dallas-Fort Worth, 8 million. Houston Metro, 7.5 million. Washington, D.C., 10 million combined. I'm guessing that is the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. because Washington, D.C. is very small, but there's a lot of states that surround it. Atlantic Metro would be 6.3 million. Atlanta Metro, would be 6.3 million. Miami Metro would be 6.1 million. Philadelphia Metro 6.2 and San Francisco 7.8. Again, I have not checked these numbers, but they're probably in the ballpark. Even if they're give or take a couple of million, they're probably pretty close. But that coverage those 10 cities, that only covers 94 to 98 million people. The United States population is over 300 million people. So they would have to expand to more cities. And as we go further down this list, where the last one, which was San Francisco Bay Area, 7.8 million, it just gets smaller after that. So, you got to come up with another, say, 8 to 10 cities you got to launch in 20 different cities by the end of the year, even if you got regulatory approval to hit half of the population of the United States. That seems like a lot. Now, if my math is wrong here, let me know. But I think we're fairly close to being accurate. So I think that's going to be more difficult than Elon is letting on here. And again, it says pending regulatory approval and making sure everything's safe. And I think that's a necessary caveat, because Tesla can't just set down a flag and say now we have phallic shaped full self or robotaxis here. They can't do that. So there needs to be some approval on a government level. And I can tell you that it might be difficult in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, some of these states or cities like San Francisco. That might be a little difficult to achieve for Tesla right now, especially because of the autopilot. The state of California thinks that Tesla is misrepresenting autopilot in advertising, and they think, and when I say advertising, it's pretty much whenever Elon talks. So they're thinking about halting their production of the vehicles even. So it's not a simple fact of if everybody was treating this without emotions. There's definitely going to be emotions in some of these cities, and some of the other ones not even mentioned. Elon went on to say that the Model Y is the best-selling car in Turkey, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Austria. Those are relatively small markets, but, a win is a win. He thinks that sales in Europe will improve when Europeans have access to full self-driving, which may or may not be true. He said that they are close to negotiating a deal in the Netherlands so that people can use supervised full self-driving. But then that needs EU approval, and Elon mentioned the bureaucracy in Europe when it comes to the EU. And then, they're working with regulators, let's say, in China to get full self-driving supervised. I think it's reapproved because I think they had it taken away by the Chinese government. So they're working through that as well. And these are all, I would imagine that as companies expand and as new companies come into the autonomous driving market, a lot of companies are going to face similar hurdles. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in and listen to Elon's opening remarks.
And then within the U.S., as we get confident about safety in different geographic areas, we will loosen up on how much somebody has to be laser focused, to have their eyes laser focused on the road. Because that's been a common complaint. In fact, it does create an odd safety issue where people will sometimes disengage autopilot, then do something, change the radio, or maybe look at the phone, drive with their knee, and then re-engage autopilot, which obviously is less safe than simply keeping autopilot on.
I will 100% agree with this. However, you designed the car to have one screen. And listen, I love the screen. But the car's designed to have one screen, and the radio is at like the bottom right. It is not in a convenient place. Like, redesign your screen or make it better, the voice system better. Because I personally will open up a podcast, or I'll tell my S lady on my iPhone, hey, play this playlist from my music, and I'll just listen to it that way. I won't even interact with Tesla's interface most of the time, not every time. But I agree with you that people should not be disengaging, driving with their knee, and then paying attention to the screen. But that's how you designed it. Maybe work on making it less so that you have to pay attention when autopilot's engaged, and it still operates safely, and maybe redesign the interface so that we don't have to look down into the right to change a radio station, or to, open up and listen to a podcast or an audiobook. Because there's lots of great things inside the Tesla infotainment system, like Audible, and, like I said, podcasts, and, tune in and all that stuff. There's all sorts of great stuff. Make it more accessible and easier to get to, or make the voice better. Either way, however you want to do it.
Because of our focus on Austin, with no one in the driver's seat, the production release of Autopilot is actually several months behind what people experience on a Robotaxi in Austin. So now we have the Robotaxi in Austin launched. We'll be adding back those elements so that there will be a step change improvement in the Autopilot experience for people outside of Austin. This is really, as you can tell, this is very much sort of autonomy is the story. Like we need the physical product, without which you cannot have autonomy. But once you have the physical product, you need the autonomy is what amplifies the value to stratospheric levels.
I believe what Elon is saying when he says amplify the value to stratospheric levels. He's saying amplifying the value of the vehicle, because he's talked in the past about if you have full self-driving, then your vehicle's value will actually appreciate instead of depreciate. So it'll actually, not only will you be able to make money by putting your car on the Robotaxi network, but your car will be more valuable because of it. And I am skeptical. If you go out and you buy the nicest Lamborghini you can, and you garage it for 4 years, and you don't hardly ever drive it, and you take really good care of it, you're still not going to sell it for more than you bought it for. You're going to sell it for less. Now, if you take that same Lambo and you put it in a barn for 80 years and somebody comes across it in that same condition, then of course that appreciates. But now it's a different car. It's a classic car. It's not the same thing. So I don't think full self-driving is going to make the value of the car go up in the way of it. The vehicle hasn't depreciated. The value could go up if you decide to put it on the Robotaxi network and make a little bit of money. I believe that Tesla's going to have to charge more money for this service for you to make any money, because right now it's very low. And I'm not even saying right now, I'm saying the numbers that Elon has proposed in the past to make this a vehicle that everybody can ride in and afford. That's great. I'm all for that, by the way. But if you're going to try and make it a vehicle that everyone can afford and make it cheaper than riding the bus, when there's one person paying for the vehicle instead of however many people are on that bus throughout the route paying for the vehicle, and the buses are subsidized, you're going to have to charge more money. It can't be cheaper than riding the bus and still let people that are putting their cars on the Robotaxi network make money. I just don't see where the payoff goes there. Again, I want to say, I think full self-driving will be beneficial to everyone who has it, whether they're putting it on the Robotaxi network or not. I just don't agree with Elon's vision in that way. All right, let's hear what let's hear what else Elon has to say.
We also launched the Tesla Dyna, which has been a huge hit. It actually got worldwide attention, which is unusual for a diner. Diners don't typically get headline news around Earth. But this is a pretty special diner, and if you're in the LA area, it's worth visiting. It's sort of a shining beacon of hope in an otherwise sort of bleak urban landscape, frankly. So it's really quite a lovely experience. Great job by the Tesla team there. On the full self-driving front, continue talking about that. We're continuing to make significant improvements just with the software. So we're expecting to increase the parameter count. Actually, at this point, I think we can probably almost 10x the parameter. Roughly 10x the parameter count. So this is actually a very tricky thing to do, because as you increase the parameter count, you get choked on memory bandwidth. But we currently think we can 10x the parameter count from what people are currently experiencing. So not just a 4x, actually 10x increase in parameter count.
Okay, I don't have any comment to make on the Tesla diner, although I would like to go and have I don't eat beef or pork, so I don't know what I would eat there. And I don't like fried foods. I like fries, I guess, but I don't like fried meats and things like that. So there's a grilled cheese on the menu that I'd probably have, and that would probably be tasty. I love grilled cheese sandwiches, one of my favorite. In terms of, and I'm planning on going, I have not cemented those plans yet. I still have some things going to figure out. But when on the full self-driving front, here I'm going to admit my ignorance here. I don't know what 10x the parameter count means. So if you know what this means, send me an email, Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com, and explain it to me like as if you thought I was an idiot, because I am, and I'll probably need you to explain it to me as if I'm an idiot. So if you know what that means, let me know. All right. Elon's going to start talking about Tesla Energy now.
Energy is growing really well, despite headwinds from tariffs and spare supply chain challenges. The Megapack is expanding capacity quickly, and we have upgrades to the Megapack that will make it even better. And we had record Powerwall deployments again in Q2. So I think batteries are just going to be a massive thing. The scale of battery demand is, I think, not that many people appreciate just how gigantic the scale of battery demand is. The way to think about it is that the U.S. sustained power output for the U.S. grid is around 1 terawatt. But average usage is less than half a terawatt. If you add batteries to the mix, you can run the power plants 24/7 at full capacity, thus more than doubling, the energy output per year of the United States, just with batteries.
You know what grinds my gears? When Elon says, I don't think people appreciate or understand how important battery demand is. Now, I will say that probably a fair portion of my friends do not appreciate or understand what battery demand looks like, right? My friends, although I say they're idiots and dumb and all that other stuff, that's how we show love. We don't say nice things about each other, but I have smart friends. And I will say the dumbest of my smart friends, I just had a conversation with yesterday. He told me that he's putting 38 panels on his house, and he's getting one Tesla Powerwall. And this is a guy who is not, he's not pro solar panels in the way that he's not an environmentalist. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a super conservative guy, but I wouldn't say he's super liberal either. He's not in this world he's not in the world that we're operating in, right? We are not your average consumer, the folks in this community and other communities like it, right? And there are many people that bounce in and out and through communities in this space. I would call myself one of those folks as well. So he's not in that world. He doesn't stay up on the latest on electric vehicles, although he's ordering 2 electric vehicles for his company, F-150 Lightnings. He's not up on the, on EVs, not up on solar, but he recognized the value of having solar panels and recognized the value of having one battery because his electricity payment is over $500 a month in the summer. And for him, that was a good motivator. So he understands the value of renewable energy. He understands the value of a battery. And he is, again, he is not very smart, but he is smart enough to know or be able to apply why that's important to him and why that would be important at a much higher level, like at a grid or at a company headquarters or at a warehouse. He understands that, this kind of stuff scales. By the way, this guy is more successful than me, so me calling him dumb it's absurd. All right. I'm not going to play this, but Elon talks quite a bit over 5 or 6 minutes about Optimus. And right now they're working on Optimus version 2.5 and Optimus version 3 very near future. He said, he said this kind of stuff in the past. It's very difficult because you got to design it from the ground up. You can't really get anything off the shelf. And, I can appreciate that. That was very early on when Tesla was building cars. They had to design a lot of the parts and the sensors and all that stuff. Elon says that the same principles that go into making Tesla a robot car or, function autonomously or supervised autonomously are the same principles that apply to Optimus. And I honestly don't know enough to know if that is accurate or not. I would imagine he said Tesla's is just a robot on 4 wheels, and yeah, but my car can't reach down and grab something. It doesn't need to have that kind of fine motor skill that a robot to operate at the level that Elon says these things will be able to operate at. It doesn't have that. My car doesn't need to have that ability. So it seems like this is a more complex thing to solve. And it wouldn't be maybe this exact same principles. It seems like maybe there might be some principles that you can interchange, but you would have to look at it a different way. But I don't know anything about this stuff. That's just where my head goes. Elon says that Tesla has the best real world AI. And he said it's even better than Grok's. With our XAIs. He said, Grok's 4 is a beast, but Tesla has the best real world AI. And I think this is interesting because when Elon gives the reason why Tesla should buy or absorb or, acquire XAI, what's the reason for an $80 billion acquisition? What does it do to make Tesla better and more valuable if they already have the best real world AI? It seems like anything that Grok has of value could either be A, licensed, or B, created internally to Tesla. And it seems like it would be really easy since Elon is involved in both companies. It would be really easy to license the technology without having to buy it. Elon did also say that they expect to scale Optimus version 3 sometime next year. Start production and have it scale production up in sometime next year. And then in the next 5 years, they think it could be at 1 million units a year. And we'll see. That might be true. I don't know. Okay. So we're in this 30 minutes almost. Let's go ahead and hit Elon's closing remarks.
In conclusion, so far 2025 has been a very exciting year. A lot of major milestones. We've made clear, demonstrable progress in autonomy that a lot of naysayers said we would not achieve. And it's worth noting that we have done what we said we were going to do. Doesn't mean we're always on time, but we get it done. And our naysayers are sitting there with egg on their face. So great progress by the Tesla team. I do think if Tesla continues to execute well with vehicle autonomy and humanoid robot autonomy, it will be the most valuable company in the world. It's a lot of execution between here and there. It doesn't just happen. But provided we execute very well, I think Tesla has a shot at being the most valuable company in the world.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
Out here, we feel things. The sore calves that lead to epic views. The cool waterfall mist during a hot hike. And the breeze that hits just right at the summit. But hey, don't just listen to us. Experience it for yourself. All Trails makes it easy to discover the best of the outdoors, with more than 450,000 trails around the world, points of interest along the trail, and offline maps for always-on navigation. Download the free app today and find your next outdoor adventure.
Hey, it's Maya and Sim from the Girls That Invest podcast. If you are an IT or security pro, you know managing devices, identities, and applications can feel overwhelming and honestly risky. That's where Trellica by 1Password comes in. It helps conquer SaaS sprawl and shadow IT by discovering every app your team uses, managed or not. With pre-built app profiles, you can assess risk, manage access, and even optimize your software spend. Plus, it simplifies onboarding, offboarding, and compliance, all while cutting costs by eliminating unused licenses. Take the first step to better security for your team. Learn more at onepassword.com/special offer.
All right. I don't have anything to add on Elon's closing remarks. Next, we're going to hear a little bit from Tesla CFO Vibhav Taneja, and he's going to start off by talking about how the big beautiful bill here that just recently passed is going to affect Tesla. Now, I'm not going to play a lot of his opening remarks, only the parts that I think are relevant.
The one big bill has a lot of changes that would affect our business in the near term. The first among those changes is the repeal of the IRA EV credit of $7,500 by the end of this quarter. Given the abrupt change, we have limited supply of vehicles in the US this quarter, as we have already within lead times to order parts to build cars. We've rolled out all our planned incentives already and will start paring them back as we start to sell. If you're in the US and looking to buy a car, place your order now, as we may not be able to guarantee delivery for orders placed in the later part of August and beyond. The bill also made changes to certain emission standards by reducing the amount of penalty to zero. This in turn will have an impact on the new sales of regulatory credits to other OEMs, and in turn will lead to lower revenues. While we never plan a business around such sales, it will nonetheless impact our total revenues going forward.
Okay, so we know this, but it's something that Tesla has to address. The $7,500 federal tax credit is going away. That affects Tesla, obviously. The used tax credit, Tesla sells used cars at the used tax credit $4,000 going away, and the lease loophole is going away. And then the regulatory credits, we talked about this as well, is going to equal lower revenue. It looks like in Q2 2025, Tesla made $435 million on regulatory credits, $595 million in Q1. So that's not chump change. That's real money, even though it's not in the billions of dollars. That is real money. And that real money going away has got to, be a little bit painful. It's not hundreds of billions of dollars going away, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars that's potentially going away. Okay, one thing that I skipped over was he talked about the full self-driving, and they're seeing an uptick in adoption, so that's good. Now he is going to tell us a little bit about how tariffs are starting to affect Tesla.
We started seeing the impact of tariffs in our P&L. Sequentially, the cost of tariffs increased around $300 million, with approximately 2/3 of that impact in automotive and rest in energy. However, given the latency in manufacturing and sales, the full impacts will come through in the following quarters, and so costs will increase in the near term. While we're doing our best to manage these impacts, we are in an unpredictable environment on the tariff front.
Okay, so I don't have much to add here other than to say that we'll see going forward. It's not just Tesla that's really starting to feel that impact. It's companies across different industries starting to see that as well. So we'll kind of see how that plays out in the upcoming quarters. He did mention, and I didn't include this, but he did mention that some of the things in the Big Beautiful Bill were going to be some challenges that Tesla is going to have to face above and beyond, like in the energy business and things like that. But I think he summed it up nicely in the clip that I played. All right, next up we go to our retail investor questions from say.com. And the question is, when will full self-driving unsupervised be available for personal use?
What are the key technical and regulatory hurdles still remaining for unsupervised FSD to be available for personal use? Can you provide a timeline?
We're certainly getting there. I think it'll be available for unsupervised personal use by the end of this year in certain geographies. We're just being very careful about it.
This is not something which we want to rush.
No.
We want to make sure that everything is safe before we make it available broadly.
Yeah, we're just being extremely paranoid.
Yes.
But I'm confident that by the end of this year, within a number of cities in the U.S., it'll be available to end users.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the same AI hardware in the Austin Robotaxi vehicles has some customer vehicles, and
Right.
we did deliver a car autonomously from the factory to a customer this quarter.
Yes.
And every Tesla manufacturer in the US and in Europe autonomously drives itself from the end of line to the loading docks. And so it's just a software upgrade away.
Yeah. I think we'll end up delivering cars in the greater Austin area and the Bay Area by default from the factory by the end of this year. Like a car will deliver itself to where you are, unless you say you don't want to.
First of all, I'm really glad that I don't want my car to be delivered to me autonomously. I want it to be wrapped and babied and delivered to me. I want to be the first one to put the first scratch in it, or road ding, or rock chip, or whatever. But Elon said that he thinks in some jurisdictions it'll be available, full self-driving, unsupervised, available by the end of the year. I doubt that. He says the end of the year a lot. It's just what he says. I'm not doubting it because I don't think that Tesla's capable of it. I'm doubting it because Elon says it so much. Having said that, he says that we're going to have it soon, and it's just a matter of flipping a switch, right? Or a software update. Well, that would mean that would be a software update for hardware 3 vehicles. What are we doing for hardware 4 vehicles? What are we doing for hardware 3 vehicles? That's not maybe a software update away. That seems like they still have some other things to solve first. Sorry, I got to plug in my laptop because it's dying. Based on some of the headlines I was reading earlier today, I think we're going to get another question about hardware 3 and hardware 4, and will hardware 3 be upgraded and that kind of thing. And if that's the case, then I owe somebody a coffee, but I'll happily pay it if they do it for free. If not, they owe me a coffee. Anyway, let's see here. Did you notice that they didn't talk about the key technical or regulatory hurdles that they're facing? Tesla, they technically answered a question, but they didn't answer the question. And the question was, what are some of the key technical or regulatory hurdles that have to be overcome before we can have unsupervised full self-driving on our personal vehicles? Tesla, say.com, people vote questions up and down, right? So maybe Tesla didn't specifically pick this question. Maybe they're just like, you know what, we're going to do the will of the people, and we'll pick the top questions, and we won't cherry pick these. But they had the question ahead of time. They read the question ahead of time. They probably had a prepared answer. That prepared answer should have included the technical or regulatory hurdles, because that was the question that was asked. All right, let's move on to our next question.
The next question is, what specific factory tasks is Optimus currently performing, and what is the expected timeline for scaling production to enable external sales? How does Tesla envision Optimus contributing to revenue the next 2 to 3 years?
So the Optimus 3 design, as I mentioned earlier, is, I think, finally the right design. There'll be further optimizations, but there are no fundamental changes that are needed for the Optimus 3 design. It has all the degrees of freedom that you really want or need. So it's we'll have prototypes of that in, I don't know, 3 months, and it start fully in production. We'll certainly start production on that in the beginning of next year. Production ramp is difficult. It's always difficult to predict the S curve of a production ramp when something has got when everything is new, because the rate of production will move as fast as the least lucky and least competent element of the entire supply chain, as well as in internal processes. So the more new stuff that is in a product, the slower the ramp could be because of unexpected supply chain interruptions or mistakes made internally. It's much easier to predict sort of the end of the S curve or late in the S curve than the beginning of the S curve. And the beginning of the S curve of the production ramp is, in any case, not really material for revenue purposes. The beginning of the S curve, you're always negative gross margins, and you're debugging a lot of issues. So that's why, like, I feel like fairly confident in predicting things, or at least medium confident in predicting where we are in 5 years, but it's hard to predict where we are in a year or 2 years. So that's why I think 5 years. I think we could be at the. Let me put this way: I'd be surprised if at the end of 5 years, 60 months from now, if we are not roughly making 100,000 Optimus robots a month in 60 months, I would be shocked.
All right. I don't have anything meaningful to add to that, so let's go ahead and go on to our next question.
Are there any news for Hardware 3 users getting retrofits or upgrades? Will they get Hardware 4 or some future version of Hardware 5?
I mean, what we want to do is we want to get unsupervised done on Hardware 4 first. Once it's done, then we will go back and look at what we need to do with the hardware 3 cars. I mean, like I said, the focus is first to get unsupervised out, and then we'll go back and see what more work we need to do.
I think this is a totally fine answer if you are a hardware 4 customer. It's not a great answer if you're a hardware 3 customer. They should have a plan, right? They should be able to tell you, hey, at this point in time, this is our plan for hardware 3. Whether that's we're going to leave you in the cold, whether that's we're going to help you out, we're going to give you some money back, we're going to we're going to charge you a little bit for hardware 4, whatever the plan is. It is very, very clear that they are maxing out compute on hardware 3. They are close to the edge on hardware 4. We'll see. They might be able to achieve reliable level 4 or with hardware 4, level 4 autonomy. Now, some of you are going to email me and be like, well, what about Robotaxi? Well, right now they have somebody sitting in the front seat of Robotaxi for now, but it also does silly things like parks in the middle of the intersection, and then tells people to get out of the Robotaxi when they're in the intersection or they're in the turning lane or whatever. It's not to say I'm not bashing on it. Like, things are going to happen. I'm just saying, like, those problems still need to be fixed. And if they're going to be like, well, we're going to get it out on hardware 4 first, and then we'll come back and figure out what to do with hardware 3, I think you should be able to tell people with hardware 3 what your plan is.
AI is transforming customer service. It's real and it works. And with Finn, we've built the #1 AI agent for customer service. We're seeing lots of cases where it's solving up to 90% of real queries for real businesses. This includes the real-world complex stuff like issuing a refund or cancelling an order. And we also see it when Finn goes up against competitors. It's top of all the performance benchmarks, top of the G2 leaderboard, and if you're not happy, we'll refund you up to $1 million, which I think says it all. Check it out for yourself at fin.ai.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With AllTrails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently with offline maps and on-trail navigation. Download the free app today.
Let's move on to analyst questions.
So Elon, as Tesla moves into this next phase of physical AI, autonomous humanoids, robotaxis, etc., world-changing, civilizational species-changing technology with dual purpose, are you comfortable moving Tesla in this direction while only having a 13% stake in the company? In the company? Is that sustainable, or do you still insist that something needs to happen, given your current lack of control and the types of technologies you're getting in?
Yeah, that is a major concern for me, as I've mentioned in the past, and I hope that is addressed at the upcoming shareholders meeting. But it is a big deal. I want to find that I've got so little control that I can easily be ousted by activist shareholders after having built this army of humanoid robots. I think as I mentioned before, I think my control over Tesla should be enough to ensure that it goes in a good direction, but not so much control that I can't be thrown out if I go crazy.
Don't know that I have anything to add other than if you were really worried about it, you wouldn't build this army of robots in Tesla. You would take some of your many billions of dollars and create a whole other company to build your robot army. Or I shouldn't say that because that implies some other things. Your robot community elsewhere outside of Tesla. And, maybe you take some Tesla engineers with you, maybe you take some SpaceX and XAI engineers, but it's not like you can't build these things somewhere else. I know that some of the technology or the IP is held inside a Tesla and you run Tesla, you could technically license your other company the IP if you wanted to. So yeah, it's you've got enough money to do both if you're really concerned about it, which leads me to believe you're not as concerned as you think. I had an argument with one of the people that I work with about how he's like, well, Elon is terrified of AI. And it's like, he's absolutely not. He's not terrified of AI. He's terrified of things that he can't control, which extends past AI into other stuff. But he's not terrified of AI. He embraces AI. He's terrified of losing control, in my opinion. Let's get to our next analyst question, shall we?
Elon, you talked about the opportunity to put non-Tesla owned vehicles into the Robotaxi network. Could you just talk about the gating factors to enabling that and what timeline we should expect on personally owned vehicles in the Robotaxi network?
We haven't really thought hard about that. Like we need to make sure it works when the vehicles are fully under our control. And it's kind of one step at a time here. We don't want to jump the gun. As I said, we're being paranoid about safety. So it's like, but I guess it would like next year is, I'd say confidently next year. I'm not sure when next year, but confidently next year, people would be able to add or subtract their car to the Tesla fleet.
I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that we will have some criteria, because like even when you put your car in an Uber or Lyft fleet, they go through a whole checklist process of making sure things are working.
It's like an Airbnb or
Yes.
that,
Yeah, so we will do something like that.
kind of big possible.
Yes. Because we want, like Elon said, we want to be paranoid about security. I mean, small things like tread on the tire can have an impact on safety. So that's why we would want to do some proper validation before we let other cars come in.
I think that's reasonable. I'm not going to comment on the timeline for this because I don't believe him, so I guess I'm going to comment on it. But I think it's reasonable once you can add or subtract your car from the fleet, that it should be safe. And I agree with them 100% on that. So let's go ahead and move on to our next analyst question.
With the FSD trials that Tesla has been offering to consumers and the attention on self-driving more generally, are you able to comment more specifically on what you're seeing with FSD subscription trends and take rates, and help us better understand how large FSD revenue may be currently?
So we've definitely, like I mentioned it in my opening remarks, since we've launched version 12 of FSD in North America, we've definitely seen a marked improvement in the FSD adoption. And the other thing which we had also done last year is we did bring down the pricing, and we made subscription much more affordable. So we have seen, 25% increase since that time. So, which is an encouraging trend. But honestly, we've just started the story around explaining the benefits of FSD. Like I said before, we released our vehicle safety report. Even if you don't believe in this, anything else, a car on FSD being 10x safer should be a motivator. Plus, the other thing is, people don't realize even at $99 a month, it's like you're getting a personal chauffeur for almost $3.33 a day. And this is by far the biggest game changer, which I know we've been talking about it because part of it is we live and breathe it. But I feel
most people still don't know.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people don't know it exists. And it's still like half of Tesla owners who could use it haven't tried it even once. They don't actually realize. Obviously, this is something we want to educate them on. So we've got to, when they come in for service, we'll reach out to them, send them like videos of how to make it work. And it's such a shocking thing. They don't think a car is capable of this. So you have to show them and get them comfortable with turning it on and off. It's so trivial, but it's it's like saying you've got a cat that can sing and dance, but it just looks like a normal cat. And you're like, until you see the cat sing and dance and talk, you assume it's just a cat. That's Tesla FSD.
Yes.
Our car is intelligent.
And so what we're going to do, to Elon's point, we've been giving the free time to try FSD, but we'll start giving more prompts to say, okay, this particular drive, try FSD. So that, because it's literally seeing is believing. Like Elon said, think of it like a cat. It looks like a normal cat, but this cat can sing and dance.
Yeah.
Same thing on FSD.
Intelligent.
Right. Yeah. And the 25% comment was 25% increase in the penetration rate since we've seen the release of V12 and V13 in North America. Great.
Tesla does not have a problem with people knowing that full self-driving exists. People that I talk to that find out that I do this podcast who have no clue as to what full self-driving is capable of know that full self-driving exists. There's a lot of misinformation, for sure. There's a lot of misinformation put out there by Tesla, and there's even more misinformation put out there by other people. So the reality is Tesla does have an education problem. It's just like when Lucid Motors CEO Peter Rawlinson, or ex-CEO Peter Rawlinson, used to say that people didn't understand that they had a car that started under $70,000, as if that was a reasonable, that's why they're not selling them, is because people don't know that their cars are so affordable at $70,000. That's a ridiculous statement. In the same way, trying to come up with some silly analogy about a cat being able to sing and dance is also a silly analogy that doesn't say anything. You're not saying anything. It's a car that can drive itself. That's a good analogy. It's a cat that can sing and dance. Not a good analogy. The possibility of a car being able to drive itself, way more than one of my two cats that I have standing up on its hind legs one day and start singing, "Hello, my baby, hello, my darling." That's not going to happen. And I have very, very intelligent cats, and they're very talented, and it's still not going to happen. So Tesla has a messaging problem, and some of that messaging starts at the top. You can even hear Vived. You can hear when he talks about the services, he's the CFO. When he talks about the services, it's almost an advertisement. I don't know that, I don't know that that's helpful. I've been advocating for a really long time for Tesla to advertise what the capabilities of full self-driving are today. Educate what the capabilities of full self-driving are today. Make a public roadmap if you want to do that, but really concentrate on what makes full self-driving and autopilot great today. Don't worry about when it will be great past today, because the problem is it's always going to be better at the end of the year. It never is. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. That's not fair. It's always going to have this amazing capability by the end of the year with good confidence, and I could be wrong. It was what Elon always says. But it rarely happens. And I do agree with Elon that, they do deliver. He said this at the beginning of his opening statement. Tesla does deliver. They might sometimes be late. They're often late, but they do deliver. And I have confidence that they will deliver. However, I think that people at 9 years of hearing this stuff are getting tired of hearing it. And this, even normal people, not just folks in this community and others who follow this kind of stuff. I think people are just it's wearing on them. It's getting old. Promises that Some aren't kept, and some promises can't be kept. We all try to keep our promises, and the reality is you can't. You just do the best you can. But there's no sense in adding more problems for yourself by continuously promoting capabilities that they're not quite capable of yet. Will they be capable of them someday? Maybe, but as of right now, they're not. So go with what they're really good at today and don't worry about, or not so much don't worry about, put in a product roadmap that really hardcore people are going to dig through what they'll be capable of tomorrow, but sell the cars on what they're capable of today. And, you know, they're in France, they're running into troubles here. They've had arbitrator here in the U.S. recently say, hey, you got to refund their money because it doesn't do what you said it was going to do. We're going to start seeing more of this stuff. Like I said, California is threatening to halt their production capabilities at Fremont. So it would just make, like, I think what full self-driving is amazing, but it's not what they say it is. And that is the problem. It's nearly, in some cases, what they say it is, but that's not good enough. Like when if I buy a product off the TikTok shop for $6 and it sucks, I'm like, all right, you know, I took a risk. If I buy an $8,000 product and it sucks or doesn't live up to what the bill of goods that I was sold, I'm going to be furious and it's going to sour me on whoever I bought that from. All right, let's check out our next analyst question.
I'd like to ask for a little bit more detail about the lower cost model that you talked about having, I think, started production in the first half, but you said will ramp later. At the last Analyst Day, as I recall, you talked about some aspects of this, like two-thirds or three-quarters reduction in silicon carbide and not using rare earths in the motor and perhaps other cost downs. You also had this unboxed architecture that I think you said would not be part of this sort of interim approach. Can you update us on what we should expect this thing to actually look like?
Well, we won't get into the looks because
it's like a Model Y. Yeah. Just leave the cat out of the bag there. Dancing cat that can sing and dance, but it can talk and sing and dance. So that's the cool part. Yeah, I mean, the fundamentally the biggest obstacle remains that people just don't have enough. Some people don't. The desire to buy the car is very high. Just people don't have enough money in the bank account to buy it. Literally, that is the issue. Not a lack of desire, but a lack of ability. So the more affordable we can make the car, the better. I think it's going to be. It will be a very big deal when people can release their car to the fleet and have it earn money for them. Which, like I said, I feel confident in saying that'll happen next year in the U.S. at least. And in the U.S. we're legally allowed, you know, appropriate disclaimers, and that'll make the affordability dramatically greater.
Okay, two things. The more affordable model is just going to be a more affordable Model Y. I think a lot of people are asking when they say more affordable model, I think they're looking for the sub $30,000 car that Tesla promised. And whether that is or isn't going to be of the Cybercab or some version of the Cybercab, I'm not really sure. It's not what was promised, but okay, we'll leave it there. As far as people not being able to afford a Model Y and making a Model Y cheaper, I'm all for that. However, if you're not able to afford even the cheapest Model Y at whatever price it comes in at, let's say it comes in at $40,000, which would be amazing. I don't know if it will or not, but I'm just going to say that's pretty cheap for Model Y. And it has decent range and all that stuff. This is all pretend again. But let's say it does. And then let's say you can add your car to the Robotaxi network. That's even more amazing because you can make money off your car, theoretically. The bank isn't going to look at what you could potentially make off your car in order to give you a loan. So if you can't afford a $40,000 car, Does not matter that you can add it to the Robotaxi network or not. If you can't afford a $40,000 car, the bank is not going to loan you a $40,000 car. Loan you money for that $40,000 car. In that same way, if you decided that you wanted to buy a Model 3 to drive gig, do gig drive work like Uber or Lyft or whatever, they're not, and you haven't made any money prior to that on Uber or Lyft, they're not going to accept your potential earnings on Uber and Lyft as for your loan application. They're just not going to do that. So it doesn't change the affordability. It just makes it easier to make the payment. The price is still the price, and you're still responsible to pay the price. And if for some reason, let's say, for some reason you're kicked off the Robotaxi network, and I don't know why you would be, but some reason you are still responsible to pay that loan back every month. And the bank's not going to take that big of a risk if it doesn't think you can pay the loan back. Like they might take a little risk, but they're not going to take that risk based on the fact that you say, well, I'm going to put it on the Robotaxi network. If you can afford it, it'll help you pay for it. But if you can't afford it, until you can, it won't benefit you at all. Let's get to our next analyst question.
We see all these wonderful developments at XAI like Grok, and obviously Tesla's trying to do quite a bit in AI. Elon, how do you manage the division of efforts and recruiting and talent and capital between these two that seem like there's a very high potential that they can in fact compete?
Well, they are doing different things here. The XAI is doing terabyte scale models and multi-terabyte scale models. Tesla's 100 times smaller models. So one's real world AI and one's kind of, artificial superintelligence type of thing. Really kind of the genesis for XAI was that there were some people would not join Tesla, AI engineers, because they wanted to work on ASI. They would join Tesla. And I was like, well, maybe they'll join a new company. I think the Tesla problem is extremely important, but not everyone agrees with me on that. And so rather than have them join, OpenAI or Google or whatever, some other company, it's like, might as well have them create a company in that regard for it, which is XAI. So that's people can make a decision. Do they want to work on super intelligence at a data center or real world AI? They're both compelling problems, but some people want to work on one, and some want to work on the other.
I actually think this was a good question and a good answer. I don't think it didn't answer the question that I wanted, which would be, why would it be a good fit? Why would XAI be a good fit to Tesla? Like, there's obviously reasons that one can benefit the other, but why would it be a good fit for acquisition or whatever? But that wasn't the question that was asked, and it would be unfair for me to expect him to answer that. But I thought, this was a fair question. But it goes back to, if those people didn't want to work for Tesla, why would they want to be at a company that's going to be taken over or bought by Tesla? I just don't know. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. I just don't know. For, let's say, $500 million, okay. But for whatever $80 billion that they're looking for, I just don't see why that's a benefit to Tesla. So, not at $80 billion. Again, Elon could easily license the technology almost as if Tesla owned the technology. Fairly easy. It probably wouldn't be nearly as difficult to do as if they were going to do the same thing with OpenAI or Perplexity or whatever other AI company you want to throw out there. All right, everybody, that is it for me this episode. It's been a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the end, I want to say R.I.P. Ozzy, because I love that guy. I love the music. I love Black Sabbath. I love Ozzy just in general, just like his actual music library after Black Sabbath. Like when I was 14, I worked in a cannery in the community that I grew up in. And his song with Lita Ford was on the radio all the time, and that's really where I heard that song so many times that it was like ingrained in my brain. But the thing that I liked about Ozzy Osbourne is he's a perfect example of an imperfect human who makes a lot of mistakes, but is always trying to do better and takes responsibility for those mistakes. And has a good sense of humor about it. So, yeah. Also, as a side note, if you made this to the very end, my podcast shuffle playlist, before Ozzy passed away, we were already working on a Black Sabbath series, like a season, kind of like a documentary style season. So we'll see how that ends up, because we didn't know he was going to pass away so soon. So anyway, that is it for me. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, Bodie, at 918digital.com. You can find me on Twitter at 918digital. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you on Tuesday, where we're probably going to talk about the GM earnings call. All right, everybody, take care. Be safe. And I'll talk to you soon.
Hi, this is Francis from Fixable, a podcast from TED. These days, every finance leader is under pressure to save money. But you can't beat the competition just by cutting costs. To win, you need to spend smarter and move faster. You need Brex. Brex is the modern finance platform that breaks the trade-off between control and speed, with intelligent corporate cards, high-yield banking, and AI-powered expense management. Join the 30,000 companies that spend smarter and move faster with Brex. Learn more at brex.com/grow.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
A happy place comes in many colors. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. During our spring sales event, special offers are available through April 30th. Schedule your home painting project today and bring happiness home. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
It already feels like home.